Welcome to the Nebraskabilities podcast. I am your host, Nate, along with my lovely co-hosts, Zach and Andy. Welcome to week 8 of the college football season. Nebraska, coming off of a bye week, will be facing the likes of Northwestern this weekend, 2:30 p.m. at Memorial Stadium. 11-point favorite so far, so Vegas thinking highly of us, interestingly enough. Gonna be quite the game ahead, surely. Northwestern has not been the best, but we can't necessarily say that we have been the best either. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between two teams that are, clawing their way to make the most out of the season here. Nebraska certainly has everything ahead of it going forward. If you paid attention at all to any college football over last weekend, a lot of the Big Ten West teams that Nebraska is competing against had a rather poor showing. And so by, transitive property, I guess, Nebraska, in theory, at least, has a solid chance to win a few games out of their next 6, I believe, ahead. So it'll be an interesting stretch. Certainly, we want to see Nebraska coming out of the bye week, explosive, healthy. We want to see good, solid game from them, but a lot of season ahead still, and we'll see what the Huskers have in store. I'll just kind of start off with that, and I'll pass it over to Zach or Andy for any of their opening thoughts on what we're going to see ahead.
Nebraska's back for another week of football.
Woo!
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Nate, when you say, or going back to the 11-point favorite part. I'm a little shocked by that, to be honest. Only because, call me cynical, I suppose, but Nebraska in the past few years has been what many professional analysts and whatnot are calling not good. So seeing us as an 11-point favorite over, understandably, a team that's been going through quite a rough year just with everything that's happened there. Still, I think 11 points is a lot to give, especially in a football game. I mean, it's not quite 2 scores, but it more or less two touchdowns. It's a 2-possession game basically. So I don't know. I mean, if our defense, which I'm sure will shows up, yeah, maybe, but with our offense being the way it has been this year, I'm not sold on that. So we'll see, but it is going to be nice that Husker football's back. It was nice to actually, though, have a weekend where it's like, like a Saturday isn't going to determine how a Saturday football game is not going to determine the rest of my mood for the weekend. So that was kind of nice. I mean, it was nice 2 weeks ago too when we beat Illinois, so I guess I can't complain too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me see.
We've been living large here in Huskerville the past, beating Illinois, going into bye week. Watching everyone else just kind of have a rough week last week.
And I think that's another key thing is, like, now that we're in that midseason point, we're kind of starting to see teams maybe not necessarily get injured, but, we're starting to see the cracks in the armor for some teams. I mean, look at Iowa and Wisconsin. That was by far one of the ugliest games, and yet one of the most exciting to watch because of how ugly it was. Yep. I remember seeing a little graphic during that game where it was like Iowa on the last 3 drives had like 6 total yards or something. I was like, well, I can complain about our offense all I want, but at least we're able to do a little more than that. So, yeah, I mean, for opening thoughts, yay, Nebraska's back this week for football. I'll pass it to Andy.
Yeah, so it was a very uneventful bye week, which is, I think, for the most part, what we wanted. Coming back to the Monday press conference, we know that last week Marcus Washington was out for the season, but, it's good to see Rule come out and talk that, no major injuries happened over the bye week. Nothing bad happened over the bye week. Deshaun Singleton is still out, but he did say that Luke Reimer is back and practicing again. So whether he'll be healthy enough by Saturday, it's still up in the air, but all Rule just said that he was just back in practicing, so that's a good sign to see there. And then clarified that Heinrich was going to be the starter on Saturday, even though Sims, he said, was 100% healthy, that Heinrich will still be rolled out there as a starting QB. So no longer have to wake up Saturday morning waiting for a Pete Thamel tweet to go out confirming who's the starting quarterback, or waiting until they show up the starting lineups on the screen at the stadium to see who's starting. So nice to see that Rule does have confidence in Heinrich now going forward. And as much as I have always said that I still think we're going to see Sims this year, and we still may. And that's,
can't close the door on it yet.
Can't close the door on it yet. And I only say that just because we know Nebraska's history, just not having a healthy enough quarterback maintaining throughout an entire season, especially as we get more into the back half of the schedule of more gauntlet Big Ten teams that we're going to play here. So that's the only reason I say that, is there's just maybe some sort of chance that we see Sims if Heinrich does get hurt or if he has to go out or something like that. Especially with Nebraska being a QB heavy run team right now, is Heinrich going to be able to take those shots and keep taking those hits and stay healthy enough at the same time for how much that Satterfield wants, maybe being forced to run the QB run game as it is, just because you're losing wide receivers. You don't really have much depth behind Anthony Grant, and even Anthony Grant, it's still yet to see if he's going to fix those fumbling mistakes at the same time. So a lot of unknowns still going into the week, but those are just a couple big quick notes that Rule had said at his Monday press conference, that Reimer's back practicing. Sims is still healthy, but Heinrich will still be the starter, barring any injuries or anything that happens to Heinrich by Saturday. But yeah,
knock on that piece of wood behind you after you said that. Thank you.
We're good. So just nice to have like an uneventful bye week, that we didn't get any super bad news Monday from Rule or anything like that. And I highly suggest everybody, Nebraska's kind of been doing their own little version of like Hard Knocks on YouTube. It's like the Go Big Rewind or whatever they want to call it. Rewind or whatever.
Something.
And if you thought like Matt Rule was a good press conference PR guy, which he very much is, I mean, you go listen to any of those pregame speeches that he gives in the locker room, and you find me 10 brick walls to run through, because boy, one of them just makes me want to just run through all.
I'm just waiting for Rule to come out and do like what Dan Campbell did at Detroit when he was introduced. We're going to bite your kneecaps off or whatever. I'm just waiting for it, because at this rate, Matt Rule for us is our Dan Campbell. The way that the way they both do that.
And yeah, like, I mean, that quote that's been kind of going around on, TikTok, Insta, X now, whatever you want to call it, is like, if we die, we die quote. I mean, that's just, I don't know what
pure football guy.
Pure football guy. Like, I don't know what more you want. It's like, if we're going to die, we all die together. And it's just obviously not figuratively dying. I mean,
well,
obviously he's not saying that to his team.
We hope not.
But sports speak wise, makes you want to run through a brick wall. So I highly suggest.
I don't know what you guys have been doing. I already did. As soon as you said that, I got a broken shoulder. Don't worry about it. But...
From running through the brick walls.
The attempt was there. The attempt was made.
But yeah, that's just kind of some quick nuggets that he made there. I know that. The biggest point that this game going into this season was, I did not think Northwestern would be 3-3 at this point, considering what they went through right in the middle of August, right, like around that summertime, right before they go into camp, and then everything with the hazing, Coach Fitz being fired, let go, whatever you want to call it, and that still lawsuit is still active and that everything, but I did not think Northwestern would be 3-3 going into this game. I thought they'd meet, 1-2 wins at best. And so the fact that they had that comeback win against Minnesota, just, first off, awful by Minnesota to blow that game when they did play them. But then, they narrowly escaped Howard last week. So you can take that as you will. But, still still a 3-3 football team, still 1-2 in the conference, tied with us right now in the standings for the Big Ten West. And as much as like Nate said, it's an 11-point favorite. We're definitely the favorite. It's still a game that I think you can't be too safe and just going in knowing or like thinking that we're going to comfortably win, and unless Nebraska starts to prove that, it's probably still going to be a lot of uncomfortable wins just because we're still learning how to win as a team despite everything that we've been through. I mean, yeah, like I said, the Illinois score was a 20-7, 2-touchdown favorite, like 2-touchdown win game, but that was a very uncomfortable win at the same time. And I think that's probably what Saturday's going to be too, is unless Nebraska starts proving that they can kind of comfortably control the game, kind of like what they did against Northern Illinois. That's probably the game all year that's they had control, no doubt, what was going to happen. Like we knew Nebraska would safely win. And I mean, not even Louisiana Tech. I mean, that, part of that game still felt uncomfortable at times compared to Northern Illinois. So I think it's just a game.
That was going to be the game
Yeah.
that I used for this comparison.
Yeah.
It was like, I hope we come out better than LA Tech.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Better than we did against LA Tech.
Yeah. I mean, if they came out like they did against Northern Illinois, I mean, that was, like I said, a very comfortable 4-quarter game where like there was no issue whatsoever that we're going to lose that game. And I think, until Nebraska starts proving that they can do this, this is not a game that they can just sit back and like, Northwestern's not good. Like we're going to comfortably win this game. I'm like, well, no. I mean, Nebraska's still not great by any means. Like we're still learning how to win. We're still learning what the offense even is. But I think this is going to be another game like last game is you're going to rely on your defense to make the stops and make you the plays. And then the offense has to capitalize on it. You can't have last week where you have 3 drives within your own 30-yard line and come away with 3 points and 2 turnovers. I mean, it just can't happen. Because eventually a better team, upcoming like Maryland, Iowa, Wisconsin, maybe even Michigan State. I mean, those teams are going to bite you on that. So I think it's definitely just hopefully a game that Nebraska just doesn't sit back and ease. I mean, hopefully, like Coach Rule in his videos, I mean, you have to go out and attack. You want to be out. You want to go out and attack Northwestern. And I think that's what they have to do is you got to get a commanding lead, and then you have to just hopefully just keep riding it and just keep going and not, let stupid penalties drive you back like they always do. But with that, I think, pass it back to Nate there. And, what do we want to see? Being defense, special teams, player specific, any of the above.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point by you, Andy, that like Nebraska can't overlook Northwestern. It's definitely a game Nebraska should win. Nebraska's, I would say, is probably the better team overall, but it's not a team you can just be like, oh, we're going to look past them. I mean, not that we have Purdue, I don't know, to look past too. It's not a huge game. No offense to Purdue, not a huge game to look past. You like live in the moment and, take every snap, one step at a time. Like you gotta come out and you gotta want it. And I think Coach Rule has done a really good job of really rallying the guys kind of around that mentality. That's what it seems like, especially, they came out flat against Michigan, both sides of the ball, and you saw, at least in the Illinois game, the defense came out ready to play. The offense is still trying its best. They're finding their footing still, but the guys, you could tell, they seem to be rallying around Rule and like kind of listening into the words that he's saying and really starting to believe in what he's saying, which is a long ways from where the past kind of coaching regimes were, because it is a lot of, you got to get the players to buy into it. It's a culture thing, and it's not something that just happens, snap the fingers overnight. It's something that you have to instill and the players have to see and, understand and believe in that. And that's, Rule seems he's a genuine dude, and he seems to really kind of get, I don't know, the values that Nebraska kind of stands for in their kind of student athletes. And that's really exciting to see. And hopefully he can continue to, I don't know, just find that fire within the players to, I don't know, keep moving forward. It's exciting to see. I think there's a lot of potential that Nebraska has. We'll see if they realize it over the next few games. But um, yeah, I mean, back to the quarterback conversation, Harburg versus Sims. I'm glad that Harburg is getting the nod. He's clearly, he's earned it. Everyone had a rough showing against Michigan, so I don't think we can ding people too much. But I mean, everyone wasn't his best showing against Illinois, but he came out and he fought and he won us a game. And I think I said even last week or 2 weeks ago, he's probably, no offense to the guy, but he's probably not the best quarterback in the room, but he's a great game manager and he can win us the game. And that's what we need.
And that's the exact point, Nate, is he has done enough to not lose us those those terrible games. I mean, he is absolutely not by any means not a, flashy, pass heavy, like perfect quarterback in any way, but he has done enough to be just, I mean, average right now is like really good for Nebraska right now. I mean, he's been average to above average of just doing what he needs to do and just controlling the game, which is right now, with Nebraska trying to figure out what they need to do still. I mean, that's all we need, and he's done it about as well as you can ask him.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, we know that our defense now, I mean, again, Michigan game excluded, our defense can keep us in most games. We just need a steady hand on offense to kind of drive us and make sure that we're not making too many mistakes to, give the game away. And he's been good enough, and that's what we need. And so I'm glad he got the nod. We'll see what Sims Mania is cooking up in practice and maybe down the road. But for now, it's the Heinrich Harburg show, and hopefully he, close out the season, and hopefully he, has a good year and keeps learning. I mean, it's like you said, Andy, it's going to be tough for him because running quarterbacks, I'm just looking, he's out almost 70 carries. In the few games that he started, and that, I mean, for a quarterback, that's pretty much running back numbers.
Yeah, when you're not a running back,
just comparing to Northwestern's starting running back who has 74 carries, like that's not ideal. But if he can handle the load, I mean, obviously kudos to him and more power to him. But it's definitely something that'd be sitting in the back of my mind that I'd want to at least be cognizant of down the stretch, especially when we may need him in those last few games to maybe make a push somewhere. So, but otherwise, it's on offense. It's really, especially the wide receiver room, hoping we get some guys stepping up. Especially Marcus Washington going down. I saw Malachi Coleman's going to be starting, and I think Jalen Lloyd's going to be getting his fair share of reps, I heard, as well. And so there's going to be, I mean, obviously some competition, but we want to, I don't know. It's Malachi Coleman's, Lincoln kid, Lincoln High. We want to see him do well. Hopefully he can ball out. He's getting his opportunity. And so hopefully Rule gives him a little leash to run on. And yeah, hopefully Harvard can make some passes there. Otherwise, just Anthony Grant needs to hold on to the ball. The dude can run. The dude can plow people over, but just ball security. And I mean, he's had, week plus to think about the fumbles he had in Illinois. And so hopefully coaches have been pounding into him that, hey, you're going to be our starting guy. We need you to be that leader that steps up and doesn't, make those costly mistakes. So, but other than that, it's good to see that we're getting healthier on defense. Reimer back, that'll be, I think, really big for us. And I saw Phelan Sanford actually got a black shirt this week as well.
Him and Jamari Butler and Nick Henrich, all got black shirts this week.
Yep. So they're clearly, I mean, they've been putting in the work in games, and they're clearly putting in the work in practice. So they're guys that are stepping up. I mean, our defense has had not as many, but their fair share of injuries, and it's good to see guys, stepping up and filling those roles that need to be filled. So that's kind of my quick and dirty thoughts, I guess, on where I'm seeing the team this bye week. I'll pass it on to Zach on any of his thoughts.
Don't really have too much else. I mean, you guys kind of covered the big brunt of it. I mean, going back to the QB discussion, I'm also glad that Harburg is getting the nod. I think I've said this in previous episodes, or at least in passing to you guys somewhere. But to me, it's like the hot hand in basketball. As a analogy, like if you send a guy out there, off your bench in basketball, and he scores just lights out, you don't take him out of the game except for when you need to, just for the rest aspect. Like you don't take him out of the game if he's on fire. Not that necessarily Harburger's been on fire, but he's got himself into a groove. He's got the offense into a groove, even if it hasn't looked, even if it's been one of the weirdest and wildest grooves ever seen. He's done it. He, like you said, he's managed the game. He's done well enough. Like Rule always says, that he's whoever's going to give us the best chance to win, he's going with. And obviously, I think Harburger's earned that. He earned that, to me, 2 weeks ago. Even with the Michigan game, I mean, nobody earned anything at the Michigan game. But something else that I think, I don't know how you discuss it until you see it, but something that the previous teams that we've talked about, that we really haven't seen, that I think we might see going forward, is just that confidence. So last year's team and previous teams before that would have probably, given up after the Michigan game and been like, well, we suck again. Understandably, the way that Michigan beat us, your morale's not going to be high. I understand that. But they came back and they beat Illinois, which is something that we hadn't done for a long time. I mean, I can't quite remember when the last time we did it was, if it was even while we were in the Big Ten. I'm sure we were. I don't remember.
Well, we beat Illinois?
Yeah.
It was the last Friday night game that they played Illinois.
There you go. Like, we had to sit here and think about it. And I'm not trying to discredit Illinois. They're not a team, because we should have beaten them multiple years in the past. And we didn't. And so coming off of the loss against Michigan to then beat Illinois, even as ugly as we did, and not give up in the situation that we were in with Illinois, I think that is going to build huge confidence in our team going forward. And I mean, again, like, you can't overlook these teams. We aren't at a point where we can. I don't think any football team should ever overlook any football team. But at that point, we can't overlook any team, because no game is 100% ours. I mean, unless we go in and play a high school team, which that would be kind of weird. But
2019.
Yeah, it was that weird Friday night. They went down like 14-0.
It was a Saturday game, actually.
Was it Saturday?
Yeah, we came up 42-38. It was a close one.
I mean, that's been
maybe we lost the Friday night game. I know we did play one Friday night. That might have been the Tanner League game. Ugh.
But I mean, that's been 4 years now. So previous years, previous years, Illinois would have been a team that, based on how we played just in the first half of the Illinois game 2 weeks ago, we would have lost. And after the Michigan game, we for sure would have lost. So I think there's a lot to be said for just the boost in confidence, especially now, like you both said, like, now we're getting healthier on defense again, which is the cornerstone of our team right now. I think that's going to be huge. Again, I don't think the team's going to overlook Northwestern. Rule seems to have them pretty well bought into the point. Like, hey, like, you don't even think about the next snap. You think about what you're doing right now. And I love that mentality. I think the team really is clinging on to it. I also really like his just the way he talks about, hey, like, if you make a mistake, like, yes, we acknowledge that you made the mistake, but forget about it, move on. You go to the next play. Like, the game's not over. And even if it is, like, he's trying really hard to instill that, just play with confidence, play cool, calm, and collected, but, play with fire. I know calm and collected and then play with fire is two totally different things, but he's got all these great metaphors. He's a great coach. I mean, I think we're seeing it now, and it's just year one. I think, as we've said before too, I think the rest of the season, looking forward, is totally winnable. I think building on the confidence, that's the only thing that kind of, I think the bye week came at a good time, but one thing I would have been interested is if we would have had it this week and played Northwestern last weekend. If, like, we could have built that confidence, beating Illinois and then beat Northwestern, I think our confidence really at that point going into that bye week would have been huge. But regardless, I think it works both ways. I think there's a lot of good to come from both scenarios. So I'm not going to complain that we had a bye week, especially to let us get healthy. And I think we're going to see a good team come out on Saturday. We for sure are. We're going to be there.
Right.
Hey,
So I think it's going to be exciting, and I think they're going to really come out fired up. That's at 2:30. So the only thing that would be really cool is if we had a night game, so we could have that night game atmosphere. But can't ask for everything.
Nope.
Something that I came across as just a question that was posed that I thought would be interesting to talk about, just because I think this is maybe where our biggest question mark is, and I say this as a guy that's been hard on Satterfield all year, but with the way our offense is shaken out, and we haven't had our traditional, like who they were planning on having on offense throughout the whole year. Obviously, that hasn't panned out throughout the whole year. Sims wasn't as good as the guy as we thought he was going to be. There's a bunch of different things that have happened on offense that really just kind of culminate in not your typical year that we were probably looking for. I think we've adapted well regarding that. But do you think that it's fair to judge Satterfield even for me, like as hard as I have, with the way the offense is shaken out? I mean, yes, you have to a little bit because that's his job, but with the way that they've been depleted and the way that like the offense is just not everything they thought it was going to be at the start of the season, as in just all the guys they had lined up, like these are our, top wide receivers, this is who's quarterback, and everything that's happened since then. Is it totally fair to to judge Satterfield entirely and blame him for all the offensive woes? I'm going to go with no.
No, it would be a no, but it's easy because it's always the first person to blame because obviously they run the offense and call the plays and everything. But I mean, when you look at everything that has transpired since like you said, Zach, what was going to be the start of the season, like Sims was going to be your starter. You would have, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda as a receiver. You obviously saw Marcus Washington. You had Xavier Betts for a time as a wide receiver, and then Billy Kemp and Bullock. So like you had a better wide receiver room and a better passing quarterback. And I'm sure his vision and Coach Rule's vision of using the pass more effectively kind of obviously got shaken up once he got down, and then you realized, Heinrich can throw, but he's obviously not the best passer in the world. He's better at running the ball. So then it's the ability of how are you able as a coach to adapt and change your play calling to what you have personnel on the field right now. And I think I know they've said a couple of times that they've had to ask Coach Ron Brown just for like his assistance with running options and play calls for the option, because he has experience with that with the running back room as well. So, it's tough to put it all on him just because it would be different if everybody was healthy and we would see what this offense was like with a more healthy offense. And, if Sims was still the quarterback in the moment. So it's not entirely his fault. A little bit is just him trying to adapt and being better at adapting and calling plays that are going to fit your personnel. That part, you just have to do as a coach because that's what coaching is. You adapt, you have to adapt and change to what you have. And he's been able to do that mostly. Obviously, we're running more read option, we're running more QB draw, we're running it effectively at the same time. But I mean, Heinrich, we know, is not the best passer, and I think that's what he has to work on the coaches. How are those passing plays? Are you going to do bootlegs? Are you going to do play action? Are you going to keep him in the pocket? Like, what is going to give Heinrich the best success to make effective throws and better passes? Because, we haven't seen these deep shots that we saw all last year. Now, obviously, you don't have Trey Palmer or Casey Thompson who can throw the ball like that, but it's just, are you able to better design play action or just passes in general that suit Heinrich, that suit your receivers? Are your receivers able to create space and get open at the same time? Because, you have Billy Kemp, you have Alex Bullock, and then you have your freshmen. Like, those freshmen are going up against, more experienced Big Ten corners and more veteran corners that are, used to this style of play. So are they able to be physical, shake them off, get open, do whatever they need to do? And that's I think, part of the reason that Satterfield's not totally to blame either is, everybody's working with new personnel. I mean, all these coaches are, but the offense has taken more hits player wise than I think any other position group right now. I mean, the defense has had some of their, big players go out, but I mean, they've adapted and Tony White's got that defense going where it needs to go. But the offense is still just kind of stuck trying to find itself, even though they are a running team. But it's like, what kind of running team do you want to be then? Are you going to stick solely with an option quarterback? Are you going to try to get your running backs more involved? But, I think as we've seen with the injuries go on, I mean, you have to stick with the QB run game, and that's how they're going to have to be going forward. But I mean, yeah, I don't think Satterfield's to blame. As like I said, he's an easy target because he is the one that calls the plays and manages the offense and everything. But
he has made some pretty questionable play
yes,
calls.
And that's not a doubt at all.
I still think that goes back to he's trying to fit the best thing at the time.
Yeah,
and it looks bad because it doesn't work. If it would have worked, we'd be like, oh my god, that was a smart play. Like,
and that's why I think the game Saturday will be, what did they do over the bye week? What did they figure out with the wide receiver room? What did they figure out with the passing game over the bye week? Like, was he able to work with Garrett? Was he able to work with Coach Rule? Like, were all those coaches able to come back together and figure out a better plan out going forward, knowing that you're losing your talented wide receivers? Like, talented is a word, but you're losing depth at wide receiver, and now you're going to start playing these freshmen. So, how is the offense able to better cater themselves to just be better, as a sense? Just be better. score all the points. But yeah, I don't think Satterfield's to blame. But it's kind of like the same thing I said with Sims all along. It's like you can't just put the bad play on Sims of why he got benched because he got hurt. So like that's the only thing that I still come back to is like, yeah, Sims probably would have got benched eventually if he kept playing the way that he did, but he got benched because he got hurt, not because of how he played. So
it just so happens that worked out in our favor.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of the same thing with Satterfield. It's like, you want to blame him, but he's been dealt so many injuries, throughout the season already, where you lose starter after starter after starter after backup that are guys that were constantly playing at the same time. So you can't also blame him at the same time. So it's going to be like that. I mean, I think these next 6 games are going to be really telling, obviously whether we see Heinrich still playing, if we see Sims at all, and just how the offense looks, now that they've had more of a week to recuperate and better figure out what they want to do on offense. But Nate, yeah, your thoughts?
Anything to add to that, Nate?
I guess I'll disagree. I guess I'm not.
So he's all to blame.
This is by no means like we need to fire Satterfield. Like, we'll fire him into the sun, sure, but I don't think we need to do anything drastic.
Yeah, I probably should have prefaced that. I don't think he's going to get fired at the end of the year. I mean, unless it drastically takes a turn here in the next 6 games. But yeah, fair enough.
But I mean, at some point, you do have to know your personnel and who is going to be running the show. Like, yes, he probably went into the season thinking that it was going to be Sims all season. It wasn't. And that's just part of coaching, is you have to roll with the punches there, and you have to know who your next guy up is. You got to have that in the back of your mind. You have to kind of know those scenarios and be able to put them in the best place to, make plays. And I don't know that he has always done that. Not to say that he has made some good calls, and for, I would say, probably 85-90%, he's pretty well in the zone and making good play calls. But there's that 10 to 15% of the time where you're just kind of scratching your head. Like, I mean, 4th and 1, shotgun comes to mind.
Hey,
right off the bat. I was
going to say, someone did that in the NFL here this last weekend, though, too. So, I mean, I think this weird symptomatic thing with offensive coordinators is just weird.
Yeah, and I don't know. You have to adjust. You have to, I don't know, just make smart plays and know your guys and know what their abilities are going to be. I mean, yeah, you have a running quarterback. maybe put him under center for a QB sneak at 4th and 1, hand off the ball in I formation. Get him some
And
blocks.
not
I
out
don't
of the
know.
shotgun.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a coach for a reason, probably. But
Probably.
things come to mind where it's like, and then even in the Illinois game, there were those couple times where Rule had to call timeouts just to adjust the play because he saw the formation, he knew it was coming, and he's like, maybe not. And it's, you don't want that dichotomy on your coaching staff. You don't want that kind of, and I don't think it's this big infighting or anything that's going to be butting heads, but you want everyone on the same page. You want everyone like, yeah, this is a good play to run, and clearly it might not be. Like, you want you want a game plan going forward, and you don't want any hiccups along the way. So I will say that, yeah, Satterfield deserves some of the blame, and he should be calling better games to an extent. I don't think that'd be completely unreasonable to say, and I don't know. I think he is a coach, and he's, I mean, fairly young. He has plenty of room to grow, and just like this team, he has to learn kind of what works and what doesn't. So I have no issue with giving kind of the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully this bye week, because like you said, Andy, giving him some time to work with the players, get to know kind of their strengths, weaknesses, where you can go from here, and with the other coaches as well to understand kind of what he should be doing. So again, I don't think all of the offensive woes, at some point, you're a product of the guys you have, and unfortunately, he doesn't have an offensive line. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You're dealt with what you have, and he's made mostly the best, I think, of the situation he's in.
He's done fine enough. I don't think it helps that he's also, like, he's the offensive coach, so he's being compared to the defensive coach, which our defense
leaps and bounds better.
Was way better than even I expected us to be this year. I thought we'd be good. I didn't think we'd be as good as we are. And so, I mean, yeah, when you just look at the difference between the two, it's like, well, how come the defense picked it up so quick? I mean, I don't know. Offense, I think, has a lot more bits and pieces.
Definitely comes down to personnel, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, at that point, Satterfield is what you call working with an empty cabinet. But the other weird thing, and this isn't not weird. This is something that I thought interesting, I guess would be the way to put it. Rule said in his press conference on Monday, that he has to essentially keep his guys in check. And I put that in quotes. Like, he said something along the lines of Satterfield wants to pass it 50 times. And I think he's exaggerating here a little bit, or, embellishing some, but he's like, Satterfield wants to pass it 50 times a game. And Ed wants to go out there and fake a punt once every game. And it's like, and to me, it's like, okay, so clearly there's like a level of, Satterfield and Rule are working together in conjunction. It's like, yes, it's Satterfield's offense, but Rule is the one that, if he see, like you said, Nate, like if he sees something and he's like, I don't like that, he has the final say. He's like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I think it just kind of comes down to the fact that I think they're all still kind of working to figure themselves out with what they have. Obviously, like the defense outside of Michigan, I don't think anybody can complain about. And then on top of that, going back to Satterfield specifically, it's interesting to me because Rule also said in that same press conference, he's like, he basically says he wants the offensive identity to be, I want to run the ball and wear down the team all the way into the fourth quarter where we're going to beat you. It's like, okay, it's not exactly what he said, but it's something in that vein, and kind of mixing and matching things he said in the past. So it's like, okay, but then we're still seeing times where it's like, we'll have an entire set of downs from first down to third down, and we're passing every play. It's like, run heavy teams in theory don't do that. So why are we trying to be overly smart when we don't need to be? Especially when we have a running back, provided he doesn't fumble the ball, that can pick up 4 to 5 yards pretty consistently. Heck, even if he's getting 3, 2nd and 7 is a lot more manageable than 2nd and 10 when you're going to have to start passing at least. And I mean, again, there's probably a reason that we're not all coaches. But I don't know. I still maintain, I kind of agree with you, Nate. Like, yes, he absolutely deserves some of the blame, but I don't think he can be judged as harshly. And I say that more for myself because I keep saying, oh, he needs to be the smartest guy in the room. especially after Rule said like, oh, well, he needs to keep the guys in check. I'm like, maybe that's part of the problem, not the problem, but maybe that's what it is it's, two heads coming together and they're not battling or, not infighting, anything like that. It's just, he says A, I say B. Neither of them are, you know what I mean? Like it's just it's just a confusing mess. So, but I mean, well, I think it'll be interesting. I think the bye week is really going to help because we didn't have any pressure of a game. And I think maybe now, hopefully, the offense is gelled. And I do like the fact that Malachi Coleman is now officially a starting wide receiver, just because now that should help him gain confidence. He's now starting, therefore, he'll start to gel more with Harburg. And I mean, I don't know. There's not really much else. I guess we can talk about the keys to the game. I guess what we want to see. I guess I'll go to Andy for that. What do you want to see for the game?
A win.
Well, yeah. Besides
that. No, like I had said before, I think if you come out and you control the game like you did against Northern Illinois, I mean, you can't. I mean, if it happens like it did against Illinois and it's an uncomfortable win, that's fine. But I think this team has the capability to do what they did against Illinois, but convert on those offensive chances that they did and limit the turnovers, I think is the biggest thing. I mean, all of Nebraska's turnovers last game were in the fourth quarter. So if you can just limit those and score on those drives and take advantage of the short field after your own turnovers or anything like that, Nebraska definitely can, comfortably win this game by 2 scores like the spread says. But I think that's where it starts, is establish the run game like they have been and limit your mistakes. Don't turn the ball over, limit the holding, kill penalties or drive penalties that kill the drives, like holdings, false starts, all of that. If you can just limit that, if Nebraska has 1 turnover, that's fine. I mean, it's bound to happen. It's Nebraska. But you can't be doing 3-4 a game and still expect to win a game. I mean, like I said, they won that game last time, losing the turnover margin, but that's just because Illinois was a worse football team than us. But I think that's my biggest key, is if you are able to establish the run game and limit your mistakes on penalties and turnovers, I think Nebraska can comfortably win this game like they did against Northern Illinois.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree with that. It's defense is going to be defense. They're getting stronger. They're getting healthier. They're going to, they're going to keep us in the game. They aren't going to lose us the game by any means, I don't think, unless something absolutely insane happens. I think our defense is going to be, that cornerstone. I think they should be able to keep Northwestern in check. Their quarterback, surprisingly enough, has only had 3 interceptions on the season. And so, I mean, hopefully we can bump those numbers up a bit. That'd be nice to see.
Yes.
But yeah, it's got to be on the offense. Just, I want to see them have that confidence, move the ball, finish drives, limit the mental mistakes. Like turnovers, yeah, 1, maybe 2 here or there. It happens. It's the game.
It's
but
Nebraska.
Just there are some turnovers where you're like, oh, we're just playing Nebraska football.
Yep.
Where we shouldn't be expecting that. It should be, okay, I want to see a clean game, I guess is what I'm getting at. And there's no reason why I think this couldn't be upscaled version of that Illinois game where, Nebraska probably could have won that game by 40 points if everything went their way. I don't think it'll be quite that excessive, but especially, it'll be interesting to see because Northwestern's also coming off of their own bye week. So that'll be interesting to see how well prepared they come. But, it's a home game. It's a Big Ten game. We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Like we have to just go out there, play loose, and just, I don't know, play like we want to be out there. That's really what I want to see. So I'll pass to Zach on some of his keys of the game.
I kind of think I answered. Well, maybe I didn't. I don't remember, I guess. But to me, I think the big one is just play with the confidence that I think they now have. Keep the mentality, which obviously Rule is preaching every game. Rule is saying, one down, or one, just take it down at a time, day at a time. Whatever. You're not looking forward. You're not looking backwards. You're in the moment. Minimize penalties, I think, is a big one. I think we've gotten better. We're still pretty not great in that department, but we've gotten a lot better. We're not as undisciplined, it seems, as we were at the beginning of the year. Which, of course, I think that just comes with time too. Like, the beginning of the year, there seems to be a lot more penalties just because teams are finally back and playing and excited, and it just once the nerves kind of wear down, you get into the groove, it gets a little better. But like I said, we've gotten a lot better, it seems. Play with confidence, minimize penalties, dumb mistakes, and just I think play the game that they know they can play. They might not be the best offense ever, they might not be. They're a good defense, so lean on your defense. Let your defense do the work for you. But if you're the offense or the special teams, I really haven't had any complaints about. Maybe, make your kicks more often. But
Yeah.
I say that I'm not a kicker, so I'm not gonna give him too much crap. True freshman kicker, you know what? He's gonna come into his own as he needs to. But if you're your offense, don't make your defense work too hard. I think to me it's hold on to the ball. Like, we know we can run the ball. Let's kill some clock. Let's just drive down let's be that run heavy team that Rule wants to be. Obviously not every play, although if we did a 75-yard drive and ran it every play, I think the entire stadium would light up, be like, oh my God, what do we do with this? I think, play with confidence, play with confidence, minimize the mistakes, and play the game that you can, because we saw him beat Illinois, and everything that could have went wrong pretty much went wrong in that game, and we still came out with a win. So I think now it's play better than that with the confidence that you now have, because you can beat other Big Ten teams.
Yep.
And with that, let's get into predictions.
All right.
Which, Nate, you won last week, by the way. I did the math, and Nate was the closest. So.
Yeah, I did.
You were spot on with the Nebraska guess, and you were actually over for Illinois' guess. So good work.
Guess who's back?
I will.
I know mine.
I was gonna say I've got mine, so I'll just, since I started it, I'll start it.
Unless when you guys steal it, I got mine.
I was gonna say, for me, I still think 11 points, unless it goes down by the time this comes out. Of course, recording this on a Tuesday, so this could change. I still think 11 points is ridiculous. I think we're going to be close. I don't think we're going to quite cover that. I think Northwestern is going to keep it closer, but not by much. And I guess this might be a wild take, but I think Nebraska might pull out more than 20 points. I'm going to say 24-14.
You go, Nate.
Obviously.
Yeah, no, the 11 points favorite kind of makes me nervous, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with not my gut and say 30-12 Nebraska.
Oh, man.
I think we're gonna come out. We're gonna have a good showing.
30-12.
30-12. Yep.
Why not?
It's gonna be a weird field goal game for Northwestern, and we're gonna be scoring some points.
Or they're gonna get 2 touchdowns, but try to do 2-point conversions and not get them.
They know the Nebraskabilities boys are gonna be there in the stands, so they're gonna put on a good showing. I got a good feeling about it.
I am confident in our defense. I am confident that Nebraska will run the ball better, and we are going 35-10 Skurs.
Hey. You guys are a lot more confident than me.
After that Michigan game, a little nervous on how the defense will respond, but I mean the defense has been the MVP of the year so far, and I wholeheartedly can't have confidence in them to keep going back. And then you add Luke Grimer going back in too. I mean, that's just another huge potential piece to get back in that linebacker position. So I think they limit Northwestern, and Nebraska just balls out. Heinrich probably with a couple tutty runs. Why not?
Look,
I could see
look, we've had a bye week. The roulette is slow, and I feel great.
And we had a bye week coming off of a win. So
Yeah.
you know what?
Wow.
I do appreciate that. I can appreciate the confidence you boys are feeling. I'm not changing my predictions by any means, because here's the thing, and I don't necessarily think I don't think it's going to be a defensive problem. I just see Northwestern doing something weird and flashy that just catches us just enough off guard that gets like one of those weird long, like 60-yard touchdowns in like the first half. And we're like, okay, we'll button up. And then like it's close. This is how I envision the game going. It's like close at halftime, like 14-7 kind of game at halftime. And then Northwestern comes out and they get the ball and they do something wacky and get another touchdown and tie it.
Like an onside
Then Nebraska, but then Nebraska is like, okay, we're done with that. Now we're going to win. That's how I envision the game going. I hope I'm wrong, because that sounds horrible. That sounds basically like the Illinois game again. And
Yeah.
I really, really hope we don't see that too much. But hey, I don't coach. I also don't play. So if you're watching us on TV, if you're watching the game on TV, be on the lookout for the three of us also.
Yes.
And if you
We'll be wearing red.
And if you yeah, we're the guys in red. So being that Nebraska didn't do anything, I still maintain this, by the way, just going back to the whole we're on a bye week discussion. Last year was the greatest and worst year to start this podcast, because last year so much happened.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
then every year after that, I don't think because like it was firing of Scott Frost, and then the whole coaching search and all that discussion. And then it was also the whole conference. I mean, there's more conference realignment, but now it's just getting ridiculous.
But at that time, it was big.
That was big news then, and now it's just getting more ridiculous. So, I mean, at this point, conference realignment is no different than like, oh, look, there's stars in the sky.
Right.
So, I mean, it doesn't
what?
seem to change. You probably
We're
don't
in
see
the,
it through all the
we're in the
smog.
city. We don't see those.
Oh yeah, I guess.
We're big city life.
I mean, unless you guys have anybody specifically, I don't think we have a Fire into this award, son. Fire into the sun award. Maybe it's me.
I guess that's.
Ooh, I guess we're firing the award into the sun. All right.
Ooh, oof.
Sorry, award. You didn't do too well
No
this
more,
week.
no more awards this year. It's been smelted.
You had a rough bye week.
Oh my goodness, I guess. No, I don't think. I mean, specifically in terms of Nebraska, I don't think we have anybody, which I guess is good.
It's
Normally
good.
it doesn't happen.
No, I think it was a bye week for the award too.
All right. Well, moving on then. For those that really follow that segment,
Except for Zach, who wants to fire the award. To the
Yeah.
sun.
don't ask me. Don't ask me what I was doing. We do it live. We do everything live.
We do it live.
No redos. All right. Well, moving on to trivia, which we did not have trivia last week. So coming back into Northwestern, we're going to be Northwestern centric. And a reminder for those that are listening, right now we have one person that has consistently submitted trivia answers. We would love for more people, but we understand if you don't want to or if you're nervous, it's fine. We get it. But the option is there. We will accept more than one trivia answer, but as of right now, Chris is leading us. So our friend Chris, he is at this point, unless somebody like feeds me all the answers from the previous week in like one shot, I don't know if anybody's going to catch him, but I could be wrong. But this week's trivia is: when was the very first time Nebraska played against Northwestern? That's it. Just when was the last time, or the very first time that Nebraska played Northwestern?
That's it.
Nothing.
It was slightly before my lifetime, so
I think that could be said for all of us. I was trying to think of a good, not good hint, but just a hint You know, because some people might like we did before we talked about it. It's like, oh, that probably wasn't that long ago.
It was that long
There's
ago.
there's your hint. There you go. It was
slightly
that long
before my
ago.
lifetime.
It was that long
Um,
ago.
And then the bonus question, brought to you by Nate specifically, wording and
You're
all,
welcome.
is who.
Trademark
And
it.
this is completely unrelated to the normal bonus question. So these are two separate times. Just hit another hint for you.
Another hint.
Who threw the swaggiest Hail Mary touchdown pass against Northwestern? Also, still in the pantheon of great but wild Nebraska football plays, in my
Mhm.
opinion. I don't know if it's like I'm not going to say it's like top 10, but it's definitely like top 25 just because of how nuts it was. So one more time around. When was the first time Nebraska played Northwestern? With the bonus being who threw the swaggiest Hail Mary touchdown pass against Northwestern? And then for those that if you do listen and you decide that this week is the week to change your life and do some Nebraskabilities trivia, I have the email in our video, which is nebraskabilities@gmail.com if you want to email. Otherwise, everywhere that you consume the podcast, you can see in the description the link for our link tree, which will take you to that form, or the link is directly in there too. So you have all sorts of options on how to get to the trivia stuff. So yeah, if you're ready to tackle some trivia with the Nebraskabilities guys, now is definitely you got a good chance. And I don't know if we've said it too much, but remember there is a prize.
Yeah,
There is a prize.
We're still working on
we're-
what the prize is, but
we're only halfway through the season, so you have a whole half the season to catch up to the Chris that shall not be named.
and we'll be we'll even be like
Was he
those good
Voldemort?
teachers. We'll be like those good teachers in school where if you start submitting some of your answers, we'll give you some extra credit to help you get there. We might not give you full credit, but we'll give you some. We'll help you catch up.
Yes.
This is entirely me just trying to sell the idea of trivia. So, like, really,
You will.
really. I mean, we appreciate Chris doing it, but we want some competition here. So, and then finally, Nebraska takes on Northwestern this Saturday, October. That is the wrong date. They
21st.
21st.
Hey, at least you caught it in the moment.
October 21st.
Like I said,
2:30
we do everything
PM
live.
on Big Ten Network.
And if you're at the game and
yeah.
you happen to listen to us, come say hi.
we will be there somewhere.
We'll be I don't
We'll be
know.
in red.
I don't know where
We'll
we're
be in
sitting.
red.
I might actually wear one of my black shirts with Husker on it. So
I guess. Zach.
I'm not sitting with Zach anymore.
you're gonna have to. I'm gonna make you. I'm gonna sit right in the middle of both of you guys.
Being separated for no reason.
I don't have anything else.
Nope. Screws by 90.
Alrighty. Well, we thank you all for listening. Again, you can find us on our socials, Nebraskabilities Podcast on Twitter, not the other site, Facebook, and YouTube, or anywhere where you consume podcasts. So we appreciate all of you listening. And as always, if it's a possibility, it is a Nebraskability.